The clock is ticking. You know, the dreaded biological clock. The rhythm of life, love, happiness. Finding that man. Having some babies. I had racked up a lifetime of dead-end relationships by the time I was 25. I spent a whole year of my life on those dating sites. Fell asleep in bed a many a nights with my laptop, reading through the lies that men had the nerve to put in their profiles. Tall when they were short, young when they were old, pushing 60. And then single when they knew good and well they were married. I mean, did I have the word fool written across my face? What gave men the impression that I wanted to be trampled on like a doormat? And it kept happening. Until I met Steve, of course. I mean, we hit it off right from the start. We talked on the phone for hours and hours and hours. We dated for 2 years before we decided to get married. And we got married 2 years to the date that we met. And 2 months later, I was away visiting my mother. And Steve had a heart attack and died. I kept asking God, like, why you don't want me to be happy? I was devastated. And then right when I thought about giving up on the thought of ever finding another soulmate like Steve, I ran into a girl that I hadn't seen in a long time, and she convinced me to go to this club with her. She wanted me to meet this guy that she knew that was recently divorced. And she drugged me through that club like a rag doll. Then all of a sudden, she stopped and pointed him out. Mr. Daniel Blevins. Ooh, woo! Yes. He was leaning back in his chair, looking lonely, bored, sad. Ooh, but he was still looking fine. Between you and me, I could have breastfed that little baby. Ooh, yes. It was like the Dead Sea had parted and opened up to the Bahamas. I said to myself, Lord, if I'm dreaming, don't you wake me up. And please don't let me mess this up with my big mouth. He sat there, looking me up and down, grinning. Right before he stood up and looked me eye to eye. I felt like I was looking at the man of my dreams. He wasn't that tall, but he was dark, sweet, and handsome. So, of course, he had that smooth, irresistible thing. I ain't stand a chance. He had me. Hook, line, and sinker. The clock is ticking. You know, the dreaded biological clock. The rhythm of life, love, happiness. Finding that man, having some babies. I racked up a lifetime of dead-end relationships by the time I was 25. And I wasted a year of my life on those dating sites. I used to fall asleep in bed with my laptop, reading over the lies that men had the nerve to put in their profiles. I mean, tall when you're short, young when you're pushing 60, and single when you know good and well you married. I mean, did I have the word fool written across my face? For the life of me, I don't know what gave me the impression that I wanted to be trampled like a doormat. But it kept on happening. Until I met Steve, of course. Steve and I hit it off right from the start. I mean, we talked on the phone for hours and hours and hours. We dated for 2 years before we decided to get married. And we got married 2 years to the date that we met. 2 months later, I was away visiting my mom. Steve had a heart attack and died. I was devastated. I kept asking God, like, dude, why you don't want me to be happy? Just when I decided to give up on the notion that I would never find another soulmate like Steve, I met a girl that I hadn't seen in a long time, an old friend of mine. She wanted me to go to a club with her and meet a guy that she knew that was recently divorced. That girl drugged me through that club like a rag doll. And then all of a sudden she just stopped. And she pointed out Daniel Blevins. Ooh, wait! Yes, indeed. He was leaning back in his chair, looking lonely, bored, sad, but still so fine. Just between me and you, I wanted to breastfeed that little baby. I was like, oh! It was like the Dead Sea had parted and opened up to the Bahamas, child. He was sitting there grinning, looking me up and down, right before he got out of his seat. I was standing there eye to eye with him, and I said, Lord, please don't let me be dreaming. And please don't let me mess this up with my big mouth. He wasn't that tall, but he was dark, chocolate, and handsome. Simply irresistible. It was smooth. I ain't even stand a chance. He had me hook, line, and sinker.